Hey YouTube, Jay Fretless here with another video, an unboxing video normally not seen on this channel. For my baseball card loving subscribers, you're going to be disappointed. I'm unboxing a camera in this video. No cards, sorry, but it is what it is. Over the years, all my life, I've been a collector of things, and one of those things is cameras. I've been a serious amateur, semi-pro photographer for over 20 years, and it's been a big part of my life, and it still is. So yeah, when I still browse eBay for cameras I'm interested in, and this one popped up, uh, and I snatched it up. So without any, I wasn't gonna do an unboxing video for this camera, but I opened it up and I saw that it was something different than I had expected. I thought it was just going to be a camera in a box, but it was a little bit more involved. So let's just start. So when I open up the box, I noticed it was in a presentation type box, and then I realized what I had purchased. So this camera, it's not some fancy new camera that's been released by Sony or Canon or Nikon for that matter. It's an old camera. It's an old digital camera. This is from Pentax, the Pentax Q Line. This camera is almost 10 years old, and with technology, 10 years when it comes to technology, you're talking dinosaurs. But what you'll find is that photography and cameras, and there's definitely a cult following, and some people like old cameras. And what I recently found out is that people like old digital cameras. So I started in photography before digital cameras were even around. I go back to the film days, and when digital cameras were introduced, I didn't make that jump right away. I wanted to stick with film, and I still have film cameras, and I still shoot film very rarely, but it's there. It's just a little cost prohibitive with the finding the film and getting it. So anyways, the Pentax Q line. This line started in about 2011. Pentax was trying to get into the interchangeable lens cameras, and so they wanted a micro interchangeable lens camera system. So they introduced the Pentax Q line, and the Pentax Q was the first camera, and that was in 2011, and that was the quote-unquote world's smallest interchangeable lens camera, mirrorless interchangeable lens camera. And then in 2012 they came out with the Q10, and then in 2013 they came out with this one, the Q7. This has a little bit bigger sensor, a 1.7 inch sensor, 12 megapixels, which is nothing, right? The camera that I'm shooting on, my Galaxy, it's S22, I think. The camera specs on that are probably better than this one. However, camera phones are not, I don't think they're ever going to totally replace digital cameras, as in the sense of DSLRs and mirrorless cameras. So anyways, with this line, Pentax released initially 7 lenses, and then they came out with an 8th one a year later. And so this kit, as I don't know if you can see that, is a complete kit. So this comes not only with the Q7, but it also comes with 7 lenses. Yeah, some of the lenses, as you'll see, are, you know, maybe not a lens, you know, that you would expect, but no, nonetheless, it is a lens. So this is my first opening it, and as a collector, you know, there was a lot of kits that were there were a lot of kits that came with the body and maybe 2 lenses, the prime, and maybe the standard zoom. But when I saw this complete kit, I just had to kind of jump on it because that's who I am. Okay, so this came from Japan. A lot of these cameras now are only available on the used market from Japan, and you know, it's people kind of are hesitant to order stuff overseas. I have no problems. You know, they're pretty thorough in their listings, and it was like 2 days shipping, FedEx shipping. So no qualms ordering stuff from Japan or overseas. Well, Japan, depending on, you know, what country, but no qualms, I should say, ordering stuff from Japan. It looks like there's a lens hood, a couple lens hoods. So this looks like a pretty complete kit. The software you don't really need. You can open up the files. A Pentax original charger, power cables. There's a strap that looks like it hasn't been used. Not bad. So as a collector, you know, there's different type of collectors, right? You know, completist, like me, kind of. No, I mean, we're not going to say I'm an ultimate completist. Like I need to have everything of what I'm collecting, but it helps. It helps. Definitely helps. Okay, so let's start with the body. Wow, that is tiny, man. Jesus. Look how small that is. So here's the body. Q7. Here's the palm. My palm, you can see. Wow. I did not really expect it to be this this small. There's a small sensor. Metal lens mount. Wow, how cool is this? Okay, kind of push on lens. HDMI out. Takes a SD card. Wow. So it doesn't have a viewfinder, but it has a hot shoe. I don't know if the... Oh, hey, look. Battery's on. Power's on. I won't really dig through the menus in this video. I might make, you know, follow-up videos showing some samples and stuff, but how cool is that? Okay, let's see if I can start from 1 to, you know, there's 3. Five. I'm not going to dig through them. Let's start with this one. This is the first lens. Man, it's like a toy. Okay, first lens is the you know what? Let's just do this. My goodness. So, like I said, there is an 8th lens that that came out probably after this kit was released. Oh, the 8th lens came out in, I think, 2013 or... Wow. Okay. So interesting. I might be asking how much I paid for this whole kit. So if you go on eBay and you look up Q7 Pentax Q7 Complete Kit, you'll see a couple. I think 2 from the same seller, about 1100, and it's the condition isn't really advertised as pristine or anything. So this one came up for like just over $500, and there's a bunch of watchers, and I hadn't been looking for, searching for this. Usually I'm pretty religious about searching for something if I'm really after it. And I just kind of, a video popped up by, I think, Matthias. I don't want to butcher his name. So he does a lot of these older digital camera videos, and his Pentax Q videos came up, and then I just jumped. I'd seen them prior a couple years ago, and then I jumped on eBay and I saw this listing, and I watched it for maybe a couple hours, and I said, "No, I think that's actually a decent deal." So I just went ahead and pulled the trigger. Okay, first lens is the 01 standard prime, and this is an 8mm lens at 1.9. So the 35 mil equivalent for this 8.5 is a 39mm lens, and that's for the Q7. Okay, so because the Q7 and the and then the camera that came out after the Q7, the QS1, have larger sensors than the original Q and the Q10. So this, for the larger sensor, the Q7 and QS1, this comes out to be a 39mm lens. I mean, equivalent to a 35mm. Nice. Original lens cap, which is, when you collect stuff, that is almost a must. Okay. So second lens is the 02 standard zoom. So this is kind of like the consumer zoom. This is a 5 to 15mm, 2.8 to 4.5, and that equivalent for this Q7 is a 23 to 69. So like a 2470. Comes with a nice hood. And I think the fact that this is so tiny, I mean, you can use it for, anything. Street photography, candid shots. You pull this thing out, and even with the biggest lens, nobody's going to be asking you, are you taking their picture? Okay, lens number 3 is a fisheye lens, and this is a 3.2mm lens at 5.6, and this equivalent is a 16.5mm. Wow. Man, so cool. 4. Okay, so this is a toy lens wide. So this gives you that, if you, like on Instagram or some of these filters, you can take a shot from like a 4-story building onto the street, and then it'll give that effect as if you're taking a picture of a bunch of little tiny toys and figures. So this is 04 toy lens wide. Okay, and number 5, a toy lens telephoto. So this is an 18mm, 94mm equivalent. Okay, and then the 6. So this one I think is definitely a winner, because this one is a 15 to 45, 2.8. So you get the nice maximum aperture regardless of the zoom, and this works out to be a 69 to 207. It's basically a 70 to 200. And if you have any time in photography, being a photographer, a 70 to 200 2.8 lens, regardless of what camera you're using, is pretty much the go-to for event photography, for portraits, for anything, right? And the lens number 7 is looks like a little lens cap, but it's a 11.5 millimeter f9 mount shield lens. So it's like a pinhole. So this is a equivalent 53 millimeter lens. Okay, and then like I said, there was an 8th lens that was a 3.8 to 5.9, and that was a f3.7 to 4, and that equivalent would be a 17.5 to 27 millimeter lens for this Q7. There is also an adapter, a Pentax Q to Pentax KMount adapter, and it's made by Pentax. And if you know the history of Pentax, they've made film cameras for a very long time. So they have a huge library of old manual camera lenses. So with that mount, you can, with this tiny body, you can adapt any of those old manual lenses to this. And for those that aren't, so familiar in this kind of hobby or photography in general, when camera companies released and started making mirrorless cameras, where they didn't have the mirror, if you remember some of the old SLR cameras back in the day, they had the mirror, right, that would flip up, and then the shutter would open and take the picture, and then the mirror would come down. That required a minimum distance of the box, of the shutter box or the mirror box, and so it was very difficult to put old lenses, or because certain lenses, there's a distance between the flange and then the rear of the lens, and depending on what mount, it was real difficult. So when Sony really hit the scene and they came out with their small compact A line, like A6000, maybe there was a couple ones prior, but I can't remember off the top of my head. That did not have a mirror, so that allowed the adaptation of older lenses to that mount without worrying about the back of the mirror slapping the back of the lens. So what you saw was camera companies, but would make adapters, but more importantly, there was a lot of third-party companies that would make adapters to mount Canon lenses to Sony cameras, and it just became this proliferation of adapters, and it even got to the point where they would work with autofocus. A lot of the early adapters would not translate autofocus. Well, a lot of the old manual lenses, they didn't have autofocus at all anyways, but it as it progressed and evolved, you had you could put a autofocus Canon lens on a Sony camera and it would autofocus. But in a lot of cases, and what I did, I bought the small Sony Alpha camera, mirrorless. I'd buy a bunch of these adapters and would go and thrift shop and go on eBay and find all these old manual lenses. And if somebody was selling an old Pentax, their dad's old, Pentax K1000, Pentax K1000 film camera with a few lenses and a bag, they had no use for it, right? They weren't going to shoot film, but with these adapters, the lenses that came along with those cameras and that were in those camera bags, that's where the value was. And with these adapters, you could use these all thousands and thousands of manual lenses on these new cameras, and you didn't have to deal with the whole film thing. And I know the next question is, well, they're manual lenses. Why would you want to use manual lenses, or how can you focus with manual lenses? A lot of these digital cameras came with focus peaking, as a feature called focus peaking. So from the LCD or the viewfinder, if the camera had it, you could focus manually, and when it hit a certain subject, you would see an outline, like a red outline or whatever color it is in the cat eye camera, and you would know that's where the lens is focusing. So focusing wasn't an issue, even manual focusing, because you would have that visual feedback of where the camera was focusing, and you would know that you're right on top of it. And so there's always this nostalgia, right? People, when I got dragged into digital photography and I bought my first digital DSLR, I really wanted to still shoot film. There's this look and this feel that film brought that digital didn't. So that was over 20 years ago. And now we've been in for digital cameras for over 20 years. And then what I'm finding I just recently found on eBay that there are people now that are buying these old digital cameras, these digicams, these small, remember the little ones, or the big ones back in the day of like 1 megapixel, 3 megapixel digicams that took forever to take a picture. Well, there's people buying those things up now, and then they're nostalgic for that, because now digital cameras of today are technologically right on the cutting edge, and the sensors are great. They're 50 plus megapixels in some cases and ultra sharp lenses, but that comes with the price. So there's people who don't want to, who can't play in that part of the pool, so they go find another avenue to express their artistic side or whatever. And I think it's great. And I didn't really get it at first, but then I just remembered why I felt the same way about film. And there's still people today that only shoot film, or try to only shoot film. But photography, there's a million ways to do it, and which is just awesome. And I'll always be an enthusiast. Like I said, I don't like to throw around the term professional, but it's there, and yeah. So I just say I'm a semi-pro, or enthusiast, or whatever. But anyways, so yeah. So this is, wow, man, I did not think that was going to be that small when they said. So the Q is actually a little bit smaller than this, and the Q was made out of, I think this is metal, but I think the QS1 is made out of plastic. And they come with different colors, white and red and things. So just something really fun, and people really like. And it's even got a pop-up flash. So how cool is that? So I'll be playing around with this. I know that there's tons of videos that are over 10 years old now, with reviews of this camera, and you can set the custom functions on this front dial, and it even got a built-in ND filter, which is just freaking awesome. So there's a lot of cool features that I want to play with. Video features, probably, I think it's got full HD, but only the QS1, the successor to this camera, could autofocus with the 1, 2, and 8 lens. I'm not sure how this works with autofocus for video, but you can imagine, a camera from 2013. It's nearly 10 years old. So, like I said, your iPhone or Galaxy, Droid, or bot phone, it's gonna, the video quality of the newer stuff is unmatched. But if you want to be nostalgic and hang on to the past and have some fun and kind of, this is the way of doing it. So yeah. So like I mentioned at the beginning of the film, this channel was kind of started based on collecting baseball cards, and I kind of got away from that a little bit. I've had hobbies all my life. Like I said, they kind of rotate. They come in and they come out. I slowed down on buying and collecting cards as the market kind of dipped and crashed, so my focus kind of went back to photography for a little bit. And this is the what became of it. So I'll definitely play around with this and make an update video and maybe show some samples of the images that come out of this camera. I just think, man, this is freaking. Let's set this up. How are we gonna do this? Let's go this way. Boom, 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 boom. For the thumbnail, right? But yeah, so stick around if you know, I don't have that many subscribers and I don't have that many views, so you know, having two separate channels or three separate channels or four channels for all the different hobbies I have, it's not doable. So you want to see some cool stuff, see my collections. I hope, you know, I have a lot of videos in my head, what I want to do, but this video is just kind of to get me off my butt and get me back in the habit of posting some videos, regardless of the content. You just need to keep doing it. So with that, if you stuck around this long, I thank you so very much. I hope this video is informative for anybody who is getting back, looking at the Pentax Q line or the older digital cameras, and or just, you know, starting out, because it's definitely not a toy camera. It's toy size, but definitely not a toy camera. So it should be fun. And if you like this type of content, please consider subscribing. Throw me a like, throw me a comment. Your experience with this Pentax Q line. If you have an adapter laying around, those are a little bit harder to find, from the Pentax Q to the Pentax KMount. I want the original Pentax version, not the you know, the third-party type. And the 0.8 lens. I'm looking for that one too. So with that, until the next video, take care. Thanks.